Oh yeah!
What a great intro. Well, we're back. Starting out a newer park on Planko 2. Let's get it loaded up here. Haven't decided on a name yet, but I think we'll do that this episode. This is, we're going to call it the pilot episode of the channel, and hopefully grow the channel. Talk about building ideas, techniques, tips and tricks. Maybe throw a little bit of nerding out with architecture in there, and have some fun. Quick show you around. So this was a recent update to the game for a map from career mode. I have not played career mode. I'm kind of a die-hard sandbox fan. Kind of dive into a little more detail here as we get going, but I just wanted to give a quick overview of things. Shoot, why don't we pop down to ground level here and give a quick tour? As you can see, there's no name on the park entrance. That's where the guests spawn in. We have an info booth, sells tickets and things. So the idea for this park is a bit of a, haven't quite decided the theme, but kind of a post-apocalyptic, industrial, steampunk kind of thing. That actually, this kind of somewhat connects a storyline to a couple other parks I've built on Planet Coaster 1. This would be kind of part 1.5, I think, in the scheme of things, or maybe part 3. Haven't quite decided that storyline yet, but I think we can build off of that. Haven't opened the park yet. I'm only about 14 hours or so into this build, so not too far along, but worth giving a quick tour. We'll pop under that metro track, and this is the queue for the station. I won't go through the queue yet, but give a little bit of idea. Cattle pen here, another cattle pen. That actually connects up into the station. We'll cheat and go up the exit. This is designed as just a shuttle out and back to the other side of the map. And over the last weekend here, I worked on that coaster in the background. Still in progress. I think we'll work on that later in the episode after the tour here. But man, I love the lighting in this game. It's just fantastic with ambient effects, and looks like we need to do some tidying up of these ground cover there. Trying to go somewhat semi-realistic with this. I understand it's a game, but a little bit of realism's fun too. And it's a game. Obviously, we can do some crazy things in Planet Coaster, especially the new scenery add-ons for rides. I love it. It's kind of like a, I don't even know what you'd call that. I haven't quite decided. Armored James Bond kind of monorail thing. We'll actually double back over here. May change the name of this. This is actually a restaurant. Making this video April 28th, 2025, so just after the most recent update. It's got the restaurant counters. Haven't detailed the back of house yet. Need to browse the workshop for that. Come out here to a small picnic area overlooking the pond area. Again, I love the lighting in this game. It's very natural looking. And being that kind of going more of an industrial kind of idea with this park, didn't want to hide the power generator and distributors. I think that's something that should be shown, but find a way to cleverly somewhat screen those out, and I think that kind of half wall with overgrown ivy works pretty well. Another queue for a flat ride here. Just off the bat, no, this isn't based off of some type of prison. It's more of a, I think maybe a research facility compound that is more in ruins, and the park bought the land and renovated things. So there's bits and pieces of that, mainly the kind of the front wall. I'm going in circles there, good lord. A little bit of the pond view here, and I want to go into some of the ideas here for detailing things to make it look more natural, putting things in a natural setting. Look at this guy. Living the dream, right? Another picnic area, restrooms, another couple flat rides. I really like this one. This is a fun ride. They just built this overlook over the weekend. Come up here and take a look. I know I don't have a lot of ambient music yet. I hope you can hear the in-game audio, but wouldn't that be a nice view? Which actually, I think I can, yep. Bear with me here. We'll probably cut that out, but I'll come back over here and change the time of day. Give it a pause. Must be winter sometime. 5 o'clock sunset. It's pretty nice. Let's see what sunrise looks like here. Yeah, 7 a.m. Look at that through the trees. That's nice. This game looks fantastic. I love it. Get a little bit of lens flare and I won't go across the river yet. I'm mainly focusing on this side of things. There's another similar station for the monorail tram. But we'll take a walk under the bridge here, and then I think we can maybe dive into some just basic, maybe nerd out on architecture a little bit. I try to add as much realism. I know I'm not an engineer by any means, but I think showing somewhat of basic structure idea for things is probably good enough for the game. We're here to play. We're not here to accurately build something. So that's the end of the path here, so we'll pop out a first person. I wish it would put you back where you left off at the end, so I stopped here. I wish maybe that'll come in a future update, but yeah, so this coaster, let's see what type this is again. Where do we find that? Oh boy. You can tell I'm learning the menus, right? Why don't we just do this? It's faster. It is another bug there. You have it filtered, but then you have to hit blueprint unfiltered. It's the LSM launched. I like the mid-afternoon lighting here. I think it looks nice. Nice shadows. And so this is actually a double launch coaster. We've got one running there. It'll come over this kind of inverted turn, launch again, and then another car will somewhat chase it. I would like to figure out the timing of that. I'm not sure if I can. I think the first car just auto holds there because it's a block, but something to look into. This ride hits about 70 mile an hour top speed. Not sure what it is in kilometers. Into a half loop there. And then right back around. I think that's kind of cool. You're sitting there waiting and then you get that little bit of a delayed launch. And I actually didn't change the colors of this yet. I think this is actually a pretty nice color palette for this one. I think I might darken up the yellow just a bit. Yeah. I think for an off-the-shelf, it works with this theme. Everything purposely making things dull, but also give a little bit of color. To not really overdo it, but keep things subtle for this park. Other parks I've done in the past have been kind of wacky and odd, trying to incorporate a bit of realism into this one. But one of the first things I want to talk about, kind of how I tend to build. I'll just go to a straight, just top-down view of things. Zoom out here. This map's pretty small. I wish Frontier gave us a little more real estate. I think you could have a lot of opportunity to build up on this mountainside, and I think it'd be pretty nice to have a big overlook up there to view the wonderful map they gave us. Maybe in time we'll get scenario editor where the boundaries can be expanded, and even down in this lower area would be kind of nice too, or even being able to spread out even further to get some of these smaller lakes and things. I think that'd be pretty fun. But anyway, I wanted to somewhat talk about how I build. Maybe give some tips and tricks to people newer in the game, and if you are new to the game and newer to the series, maybe if you're even coming from the old school days of Roller Coaster Tycoon, it's similar process, similar setup. Obviously, this game's evolved a lot in recent years, and I think it's somewhat of a night and day difference from the first Planet Coaster. I think we're a few months in. Frontier's been very diligent about giving us regular updates and fixing bugs. There's still a few things, but it's a game. It's understandable. I'm not one to complain about a game like that. I think, the amount of work to put into something like this, we definitely have to give them a little bit of grace and credit. So, but the way I built, I started out with this park entrance here and the turnstiles for the park. Again, got the guest services where tickets could be purchased. I think if I want to add a little bit more realism, I may add in another small building here maybe for ticket purchase only, and then guest services could be here. Haven't quite decided that yet, but well, I guess talking a little bit about scale, let me grab... This is the architecture nerd in me. I will admit I'm in the profession, not licensed, but working on that. That's something I'd like to maybe talk more about. If you're interested in architecture and how to get into that profession, leave a comment, and any questions below, I'd be happy to answer them. I've been in the profession for just over 10 years. It's a long road, it's a hard road, but worth it in the end. But I wanted to give a little bit of a quick talk about scale. So some of these are actually large. Let me see if I can find a piece here that I think Frontier claims these are human scale. They seem a bit tall, and the reason I say that, a lot of common, just for example, most doors, and this is in most parts of the world, are a 7-foot tall door, and if I were to measure this off of my eye, this would be a 6-foot wide by 7-foot tall. So this statue is probably about 10 feet tall. If I were to scale it down, average average person is anywhere from 5 to 6 feet tall. For those that are in the metric system, which I know is pretty much the rest of the world, we're the oddball here in the States, but that'd be about just over or under 2 meters. And when building things, I've got a background in things, in architecture. I understand scale and how it relates to humans, and the built environment, if you will. So I treat this game somewhat like designing an architectural project. Not necessarily for a client, but just for getting in that creative mind and the creative process and the mindset, and having the kind of the creative freedom. That's something that's special about this game, and being able to really build without limit. Obviously, we're limited to the software and the pieces, but I think over the years, I've been a long-time lurker of different YouTube channels. Shout out to Channel 5 Gaming and a few others that I've watch regularly, and the community is wonderful for this platform. I think there's a lot to learn, and I think somewhat do our due diligence to show people and teach people, and even newcomers to the game, where don't be intimidated by this build or even others. I know I'm nowhere near the build quality of other people that have made some outstanding creations in the past, and I think that's something that, as the community, we come together and teach. I would hope we'd come together and teach people and help people grow, and expand the knowledge and community and things. So I just wanted to talk about a little bit more about scale. I know I'm probably jumping around a bit here, but just to give an intro and a little bit of background why I'm rambling about things. So the thing I like about this game is they have the built-in measurements. So if I grab let's just get a post of some sort, something that we can quick measure off of, and this is how I'll build in a way. Let's find, I guess we can grab a round post here, and I'll actually scale this down. And then what we're gonna do, so there's actually 2 here now. I just copied it in place, and then if I move it now, we get the measurement. So if I were to hit X for advanced move, this post is 6.5 feet tall. So if I move this over to this door, just for rough figuring, that scales out to be almost a 7-foot door. It's almost probably spot on the way Frontier designed it. So if I were to move this again, just eyeballing things, that's just about a 7-foot wide door. So it's a little bit off from what I described earlier, but it's pretty close. And I think that they know what they're doing when it comes to the scale of things. This light's probably a little bit oversized from reality, but you know what? It's a game. It doesn't have to be perfect. Thinking a little bit more about, design and scale, this park would see thousands of people a day, most likely. It's not a mega park by any means, but to give enough room for potentially hundreds of people coming into this space here, we'll kind of grab my measuring stick here, drop it in a corner. If it's in the corner and I were to move it other side, get here. So this plaza is about 90 foot square. 60 by 90 or so. That's a pretty decent size. 5,400 square feet or so. Quick math, and then say measuring this path here. Wish you could change the color of this text. It might be a little bit hard to see, but that's about 38 feet. Actually, why don't we turn this? Something easy to see here. Red, I guess, for the people of the world. So yeah, that's roughly how I tend to scale things. I understand rough human scale, I know I'm using a door as an example, but that's a pretty solid thing. Obviously, every building in the home has doors, so understanding the size of things, and obviously, with the ability to scale things, this building could be 3 times the size. That's roughly, I would think this is about a average 2-story building. Again, this is built with I try to build things on grid. That's just how I work. Don't necessarily have to follow that rule, but and again, getting our measuring wand here. If I were to move that straight up, this is roughly a 13-foot high wall, which is about the average height for a single story for, say, commercial. It's nothing out of the ordinary by any means. So why don't we have an idea? I have an idea to name this park. I think either the park name could be on this a bit of a canopy here, or maybe up top. I'm not quite sure if these windows should stay or not, but that's part of the fun of kind of getting that creative mind and working and seeing sight lines. When I build, I tend to set myself, if you were... look at this guy. Looking out roughly the same height as human. Don't have to be perfect, obviously, by any means, but this is roughly how someone would stand. And what's nice now is we have our first-person camera, which is set at human height, but you know, I really enjoy building with a nice sight line. You walk into this plaza, you can see all the way out to the other side of the park. It fades out into the distance, but you get a nice sight line here. You come through the plaza, and the architecture creates what we call a pinch point or a moment where you're not necessarily feel squished, but you have this squishing, more of a subdued moment coming under the canopy. Things open up inside this kind of inner building where the turnstiles are, and then when you come out here, you're greeted by nice open space with larger views. You get nice natural vegetation. You're automatically greeted by this restaurant area and a ramp down to the metro station. You see the metro come into the station here. Creates kind of a nice space. These yellow lines are meant to be just kind of a detail item to guide the eye as far as where you can go. This node goes down the metro track. Some of these nodes are for doors. It's kind of the, maybe cyberpunk or somewhat theme of past workers here or something. We're able to use these for automated things and travel. Still have to add them out that way, but yes, creates a nice entry plaza. I think, I'm a fan of large open spaces, but I think this is also a great maybe opportunity for some shade here too. I think people could gather here, and maybe there's a node here, or maybe a node here with a tree. And when I built this, I built it on the grid module. Some of these are larger and able to be deleted. That's kind of, I did this further down here. I kind of like the repeating shape idea. I put five units, or 4 units of path in between these, and it was removed on the 5th one, repeating down. It's kind of pleasing to the eye. And I'm also a photographer at heart and love photography. To try to create kind of captivating views in the parks, to create sight lines, and kind of seeing that photographer eye come through, which is also fun. If you're an avid photographer or looking to get into it, learn more, put a comment below, and I'd love to reach out, or feel free to reach out, send me a message. If you're looking to learn more about that, and even video editing, I'm trying to grow my channel for something fun as a side business and a hobby. Feel free to comment. Yeah, I think maybe let's build something. Maybe this, you can never have too many trees. Nice green space. But you also don't want to cut off this large plaza area. Maybe it's as simple as adding some more of these nodes. Maybe a node for each each turnstile. We'll talk about a little bit more about building. So these are just the curb piece, and the way I work, I use a lot of shortcuts. It's just faster, more of a streamlined workflow. So I just hit X there on the keyboard for you keyboard and Win Ninjas. Angle snaps on, and let's get these through each turnstile. We'll go right down the center. So this is where Planet Coaster you can build pretty fast. I've seen other build videos, people will lay each one of these pieces individually. I think that by all means do it, but a quick way to build, I just copied that twice. There's 4 there. 4 turns to 8. You can even just keep the group small like this and just carry it through to here, and the lovely part of the game. You can grab all of these. We got them all. Missed one there. And then our lovely control copy. Got another one here on the very end. See how quick that was to do? Just using keyboard shortcuts, and that's it. You can copy these kind of medallion node pieces. I think it kind of looks kind of electronic, like maybe like a circuit board or something. And all I'm doing is just hitting Control X on the keyboard. That's it. It's pretty. We'll grab these, and I know these are all centered, and we have this node adjusted to building and relative. We want a relative for that, so it'll stay perpendicular, if you will, and we'll drag these over to the ends. Oops. I hit the green there by accident. There we go. That quick. Added these kind of starting points, if you will, into the park, and maybe I'll change the colors of some of these. That'll guide people to a restaurant, maybe blue or red or something like that. But yeah, let's go to nighttime. I've been working on the nighttime lighting over the weekend. We'll go to 11 o'clock at night. Haven't done this side, but just gives you an idea. I like these. Maybe these are like some type of antennas or something with the lights on them. Kind of gives maybe an eerie kind of vibe, or communications. These red lights, like all the doors are locked. Guests can't get in here. Lit up the catwalk area. Well, we can actually. That's why we're here. Why not? I'm a huge fan of natural light. We don't want things to be too bright. I think maybe if this was an old station, they'd have a light by the door just to keep things, maybe keep things illuminated, kind of build that storyline that we've been talking about. I think the power stations could use so it looks really bright and kind of overwashed in things, but maybe it has a kind of a yard light, if you will, or maybe we find a different light here. Why don't we do that? Don't really care for that one very much. This one's kind of different. Been using the aquatic light pieces. I like the industrial side of them, which even searching for light, it's kind of odd. It doesn't give you all of the choices, so coming back into lights here gives everything. It's a huge improvement over the first Planet Coaster, where the lighting was way oversaturated and overblown, and it just didn't look great. I think they've improved it a lot in this game, and I think once we get more expansion packs, they'll actually grow things and make things look a little bit better. Maybe being this is an industrial kind of service area. Maybe it is just, maybe we can put a fluorescent kind of tube light up underneath the walkway here. It actually looks kind of nice. Yeah. And then here, maybe it's... This isn't probably a code, up to code, but keep it lower just to light up the panels and things. Put another one back here, maybe. Utility type space. Public won't be accessing it, but that actually kind of like that a lot. It lights up the sides of the machines and gives kind of an eerie glow of what's going on back there. You can add another light to illuminate that way. So a lot of this is play around, you know, it's a game, we're here to play and learn and ultimately build something cool and fun. Kind of like this park being somewhat dimly lit. It's, I think maybe it was some type of compound at some point. Leave a comment below, maybe if you have a better idea than I do of what helped build the storyline a bit. I think that's something I kind of struggle with sometimes, is finding parts for the storyline. Maybe this larger eating area, picnic area, has got a couple of a larger floodlight. Hope I'm not making everyone sick. Let's add some lights on the outside of this too. I love the surface snapping tool on this game now. It's great. You get some lights in here. And I'm just building as I see. I'm not really putting a lot of thought into it. I think it's kind of more of thinking about this, where people would walk, where they would need light, and a reasonable amount of light for safety and things, and just illuminate the area. You don't want to go to a bathroom that's dimly lit. That's just odd. But here we can light up this larger kind of roof overhang, and then we'll put a couple of lights down this corridor. I'll move these, tidy that up a little bit, center them. It's always nice for aesthetics to keep things centered. I had a hard time grabbing that arrow. There we go. I'm looking at the center line as this center line of the wall there. I should have grabbed both of those and moved them. That's my fault, but we'll get there. Not to rush. Yeah, it looks pretty good. I think we can add a few more lights on the exterior. This building's not really needing to be illuminated, as there's a queue line around the outside, but I think lighting things up helps. Kind of going with a lot of symmetry in this park. Seems to help things out a little bit. And it doesn't have to match. If you're a guest on this side of the park, you'll never know these don't match up. Maybe I like these wall washer lights. These look nice. Maybe these are kind of tucked up. Let's see. I like. Yeah, kind of looks nice up here, doesn't it? Hit the. These are nice scaled down, just because they're pretty large from the get-go, but the lighting doesn't really... it doesn't change the lighting output, which is nice. Thank you, Frontier, for that, so I can tuck this up on the roof line. And that one poked through a little bit. We can drag that down. Same thing on the other side here. I'm not really trying to match them up. Again, you really won't see it in person. Maybe here this one's ground or maybe below the window. Kind of fun to play around lighting. I think that's one of the fun things. You can somewhat realistic lighting in here. I like the shadow lines below these windows is lit up. Let's experiment. Maybe we take away these 3 caged lights. Oops, if I grab them. Looks pretty decent. See, this looks dark here, so maybe by add one there. Helps balance things out. I think it's play around with it, and ultimately it's what looks good to the eye. I think that's part of the fun of the game. Let's go back to daytime here. I like the 2 o'clock hour in the game. I think the lighting's nice. So why don't we... Let's name the park. We haven't done that yet. I think I arbitrarily titled it Woodland Cliffs, but I think let's change it to... Let's go Rustgate Station. I think that's kind of fitting with this patinaed. If you're in the industry, this is kind of somewhat called Core 10 steel. If you want to Google that, it's a steel panel that's essentially rusted chemically and things. But I think Rustgate Station is kind of a fun name. Let's build be a bit of a long stretch here. But let's do it. Again, I have the letters here. I just used a lot of the keyboard shortcuts, which actually, a new one that's awesome. Snap distance, and I need to see, yeah, 3.2 feet. That's a nice spacing. And all I'm doing is hitting Control X between each letter to hit advanced copy move, just to keep things tidy. A little bit of space there. See, once it's working with keyboard shortcuts and things, I think the building goes pretty fast. Rustgate Station, that's actually pretty well. We got the nice, just eyeballing that actually worked out pretty well. Kind of a happy accident, as Bob Ross used to say. Got a nice open gap here. I think we could shift it over just a bit. Oops, get the end there. I forgot to hit the check mark. Usually always gets me one time or another. And I want to group these all together. Sure. That's why. It's nice to be able to filter things in the game as far as selection. I've been using that a lot, and I absolutely love it. So here we'll turn off that snap, and I'm just doing this essentially eyeballed. I think eyeballing's a fun way to sometimes work. It's not exactly perfect, but and maybe the font size, maybe bring that down to what does like 70 look like? Again, it's play around on what's pleasing to the eye. Yeah, I like that. I think that's pretty fair. And then I would like to group these together just if I decide to move things. And what's nice when it's grouped, as I'm sure you're aware, you can grab just the letters we just created. And I want to change the color, kind of a yellowish gold color, just to somewhat match the color of these lead-in lines, if you will, into the park. Get our measuring stick here. We can delete that, come back to that more. Feel free to comment if you want me to describe things more on that. I think part of the building and adding that little bit of realism is thinking what, you know, how people use each space in the park and the amount of people in a park, providing a lot of benches, waste bins. You know, this restaurant, 20. I think the game max. I think is it 20 now? 20 tables. If I remember right. Yeah, 20 connected tables, so you figure to fit 4 people per table. So this arbitrarily could hold 80 people at this restaurant. That's a pretty small restaurant for a park that could have thousands of people. So I'm somewhat trying to build this park at a 1-to-1 human scale of leaving enough space for hundreds of people to walk and travel and enough queuing line. So this restaurant would be somewhat of a niche item for a smaller group of people, and maybe in time the park would take this tree out and expand. I did add a couple other additional tables that aren't included in that 20, and realistically I think if we were to add a bit more realism to this park, I think these wouldn't maybe not be here, and give another maybe half a dozen or so picnic tables out front here. Not blocking this kind of circulation path, if you will, and maybe this doesn't seem like a right area. I think there'd be a lot of people coming in and out of the restaurant, and if you were to grab food from the counter, be able to walk through this space and sit and enjoy a meal under the covered canopy. Could be another opportunity to take out these benches and replace them with picnic tables. Could fit probably a half a dozen or so here. But I like the idea of different types of seating. If you're just grabbing a quick bite, sit on a bench and keep moving, and a picnic table would be for a longer duration stay. So I think adding these couple here would be nice. I did take away bins. I always try to, if I do take away something, add it back. So this maybe these will be back here, and maybe to subdivide this space out, crank this down. Maybe there's another half wall here to divide, to get kind of another external seating area for folks and guests to eat. So what I want to do actually is move the bins there. So you got, if you were using this area, you can have a couple of bins for trash, a couple more for passing by, and then you also have room to walk in through here, or if you're leaving here, to walk out. And then adding that wall, we just got another opportunity to add a couple more benches. Just that quick. I think that's a good opportunity. Maybe something else could go here, another bench or a couple of waste bins. I think that's adequate for, or we can maybe, let's add a couple more. And mixing the western theme and the aquatic theme for kind of a cyberpunk, like leftover, maybe ruins or something of when I feel like they had to leave this station in a hurry. Maybe put dynamite out front, or we're not really doing a western theme, so I don't think we'll do that. I think it's there. Adds a little bit of realism. And there's still enough, it still gives enough room here for circulation of things, of people, and allows movement through. Yeah, I like that. A quick addition to scenery. I didn't really think of that before, but the kind of the longer I look at it and kind of study things, I think that adds a nice additional space, adds a little bit more realism. Really didn't plan anything on the backside here, as that's the queue into this behemoth swing. I like this ride. It's pretty wild. I think that would be a heck of a ride if you were to use it. Yeah, the park's meant to be open and airy, a lot of natural lighting, natural views. Kind of like, again, this maybe post-apocalyptic maybe not cyberpunk, kind of abandoned station kind of vibe. Maybe not necessarily Lost. I've been watching the Lost series lately. It's an interesting series. It's older, but it's intriguing. Maybe something along the Dharma Research Station vibes. No copyright intended there, but something along that adds a bit of mystery and kind of exploration, discovery to the park. Another thing I wanted to add was a bit of realism on these nice viewing areas. I think realistically this wouldn't be floating like this. Maybe we can add, I like a little bit of structure to things. And again, I'm not an engineer by any means, but I think just giving the visual idea, I think, is kind of fun. I like these coaster supports. They're fairly realistic. I wish they didn't have this giant flange on the bottom, but that's okay. It's Frontier's choice, and we make it work. I think these would be inside here, and maybe we'll color this like a dark gray, keep it more of a natural steel color, push that back, and I don't really know how many would need to hold this up. Again, I'm not an engineer, but I think maybe 3. Somewhat match the bench symmetry. And then from this side, it's a bit somewhat misleading, so I think what we're going to do, we'll group these, copy, and rotate them. And this was built on that standard grid, so it is square. And just carry that back, and my eye saw this underside of the path, so I just want to take this out just a bit. And then when I do copy it again, rotate it 180, carry it back, leave that same overhang will match this distance. That actually worked out pretty well. And there you have it, simple kind of overlook area. Let's see. I'll actually widen these to take out that bit of the path that we see, just for a little bit of realism. Again, most people probably won't even notice it, but I happen to notice it, and why not fix it while we're here? There, have a nice overlook. Something I did in the bridge over here is add these red lights. I think I want to replicate that. Kind of gives maybe a warning light for maybe there's some crazy skydiving pilot or something that wants to fly through here, and I think lighting this up is kind of nice. Kind of gives that station maybe not Cloud City, but kind of a station kind of vibe of safety first in a way, but kind of fun, I think. I was thinking about what to do along this cliff edge here. I like the path wanders through the trees here, but you get a nice view. Maybe it just needs a bit of kind of overgrownness to this, just to give it more of a natural setting. I'm really a big fan of natural setting when I work on this game. I think it's nice, it's calming. I'm from the north, and it's just becoming spring, so the probably won't be playing this game as much, but I like the natural setting. Just adding that brings the foreground of the path a lot closer to make it seem this is just a sheer ledge. Gives it kind of a nice grounding point. If you were standing here, it kind of adds a little bit of a artificial safety buffer from this planting. You're not just going to fall off a cliff or something like that. Here, I'd like to maybe add a tree, I think. I don't know if that's in the... Is that in the safety zone? Let's throw this on test mode really quick just to see. I think this is okay. Sure is slow to get started. Gives that... Yeah, I think that works just great. Gives that near miss opportunity. Same thing here with these other trees. You just near miss through the canopy, get a nice view. Add that, whoops. Add that one, maybe we'll add a couple other... A little bit of that overgrownness up here, just to give it more of a natural look. This is the creosote bush, which completely different than the Planet Coaster 1 bush, but it works great. I like it. Same thing here. This just coming through here, this doesn't look as kind of polished as it could. And again, these are... It's more of a kind of a rectangular plant, but you can kind of fudge in a large area of it pretty quick, and it just looks like one continuous kind of shrub doodle, if you want to call it. Maybe that's a technical term, a shrub doodle. Maybe there we'll add another. A lot of times I don't even open the menu. I'll just grab a tree from somewhere else. I mean, these are right next to each other. We'll scale that one up just a bit to make it look more natural. And I added these kind of, I think they're oxygen tanks in the game, but I think they add a little bit of like there's something maybe underground here, which, spoiler alert, maybe that'll be in a future episode of building some part of an underground old station or research center or base or something. I think that's kind of fun. Gives a little bit of a mystery to this. And this you know, another tip I want to give to the community is save open areas like this, save grass. This adds depth here. Gives a, I would say, maybe not depth, but layers. You have the path, the railing, the open grass. This is somewhat how I build. We added this other undergrowth. You have a nice open area of the trees, and then you get the nice view of the ride. So it's kind of about creating a sight line with views. If you just circle back here, you kind of wander through these larger trees. You see the overlook, which maybe put a sign here that would guide guests to this. Not quite to that point yet for signs, but same thing here. I think this is such an open park, I think this area could use maybe a nice shade tree here. Let's grab one of these. Kind of this station's been here long enough. Things are overgrown at this point. Just that one tree shaded that whole queue. And just want to test things again. I think this will be okay, but let's check. Nobody loses their head or arm or leg or something on this. Adds that near miss. As well ride them over here. Yep, see they just lost their head in the tree. They sure did. So I didn't realize those go out that far. Okay. Why don't we move it? Oop, don't want to move the ride. Let's just take it over a little bit. There we go. I think now we're probably safe. Ditch it over there. Equalize that area. anyone losing their head on this tree? It's close. Yeah, you might touch some pine needles, but for what we're doing, I guess that's close enough. We're not trying to murder anybody here. You know, here another layer. I could suggest maybe add another little layer of plant, flowers, or undergrowth or something, just to give it a little pop of color here. But the park tried to make this more of a theme park. Give it that little bit of extra oomph, if you will. And I know I said don't kill the grass area, but leave that little bit open. It gives a little bit of added depth. You got 1, 2, 3, 4 layer of just kind of path, fence, and vegetation. If you count the trees, that's layer 5. I really like the being able to add scenery pieces on this monorail. I think that just turns it into something completely different than just the bare skin monorail. I think here would be an opportunity. This looks really dangerous, I think, for the size of this kind of supports holding this platform up. So I think I'd like to add, why don't we add a little bit of something to that. I don't want to use that one we previously used. Let's use this girder. And the little bit of oddity I have with the game here is snapping to things. That actually worked out pretty well. I like building with contrast. Let's put this down here. I'm probably being too deliberate, but if this is holding this whole bridge up, drop that down. And I love that you can see when things cut into a wall now, or are blocked. I love that they added that. What an improvement. Thank you, Frontier, for that. And again, I try to align things, doesn't have to be perfect. Grab these. Just to add that bit of realism. We'll take one out to the end here. Oops. I'm gonna blind everybody by the plants. Maybe we'll put one more. Oops, we didn't even drop that one. Maybe we'll put one right down the middle. Let's do right here. This looks better. Again, seeing that eye, and obviously we can't have a beam going through a window. You could, but that wouldn't be cheap, so I think we'll delete the window, and we'll move that plant up. Give that natural, overgrown look. The plants are growing off the bridge, and I think the Mother Nature's maybe reclaiming this park over time. Same with this one. This could come off the bottom of the window. Maybe we'll add another one there, and maybe another one off. It kind of kills that openness of that. But I think that looks great. Maybe another one here. Just looking at this, I think it kind of needs it. It looked a little too bare. And maybe here, being that the monorail runs, maybe the park can't maintain this space as much. This is a really high traffic area and high flow area for the monorail, so they just let it go back to nature. Why not? I've left it kind of, it's mostly shaded throughout the day. The grass doesn't grow. The trees are overgrown. The park has to keep this a safe area, which maybe this fence should be higher, but I like you be able to stand here and watch this thing go by. I think that'd be kind of fun as a guest. Watch it go all the way out. You can obviously walk across the bridge here, and maybe we can add a name to this crossing of sorts. Maybe it's a Fate Bridge or Faith Bridge or something. You're testing the fate of walking across this massive canyon and gorge and out onto this viewing area. These walls are leftovers. I can actually delete these from how I built the bridge. But to talk about that really quick, Let me get out of the building footprint to hide that grid. But I built this, started as a grid. I put the path across, straight line. Again, it's on the... let me go back here, pardon me. It's on a module grid across. And then what I did, I started a building. And I measured from one end to the other. I believe, if I remember right, it was 34 units across. Found that center line, which was 17. So I just added these couple of wall pieces out here to find that center. And then I originally built... I should have actually done a build series on this, but maybe another part of the park will have another bridge across down here, or even way over on the other end or something. Built these girders that would be underneath the path first, and then I built this essentially in half. So I built this first arch, I just ended a beam at the center line, used the rotational stamp at 11 degrees down, added another one, and then angled them down. And then I copied them over to make this kind of network of girders and supports, and then all I simply did was just copied it over 3 other times, grouped that together, and then, being that I built this on a building grid, it still held this center line, so when I rotated and moved it around, it mirrored it essentially perfectly over, and that's it. It seems like a lot of work, but in reality it only took maybe a half hour to build this. And then I went back in and added these horizontals and some of these other details, these flange connections and things, just add that bit of realism. And then added these pipes. Maybe these are part of the mystery of the park. If you've seen one of my other parks, again, shout out to Johnny on Channel 5, Alpine Mountain. There's a cave that has orange pipes like this. Maybe you've seen that if you've seen the park and loaded that up, but that's part of the mystery of these are transporting something. And another park, hopefully maybe Johnny will feature, or maybe I'll do a walkthrough on the channel, named Crater Lake. It's on a Steam page. I'll post that in the description below, a link. But part of that, again, was carried through as part of the storyline I've been trying to build on a few of these parks to kind of give a bit of mystery and why not have a fun storyline behind it. So looking at this again, I see maybe an opportunity for adding a little more detail around here. I think my eye sees this harsh line between the ivy growing up the wall, and it just doesn't look very natural. I think it could be overgrow that a little bit. And the tip and trick again, if I do vegetation, let's go to a very blank area here. It's kind of a side quest, if you will. But let's grab something that, when it's repetitive, it looks repetitive, and it just doesn't look good to the eye. Let's see. Something that can be rotated and turned. Let's just do what I have on the screen here. So if we post these down, and they're all, say you're trying to fill in an area, and you don't rotate, this doesn't look. Nature is very natural. Obviously, there's repeating things in nature, but if you want to, a line of these, if that's what you're looking for, by all means do it. I'm not saying to limit anyone's creativity, not my intention at all, but to click these down and randomly rotate and not build a perfect line, but build it, offset things just a little bit while rotating. I'm just hitting Z as I'm going. Rotates 90 degrees. I know Frontier in an update added the random rotation. I haven't really used that much. I found it kind of odd, but if I were to delete that initial cluster, let's just drag these over. I think, in my humble opinion, this second row that I just created looks more natural to the eye. The eye is more visually appealing, and even another layer you can add, randomize the heights as you build. You can do it either before or after. I usually do it before, but depending on the backdrop, you create that depth. And that's... So let's move this out of the way, just so we can see it. See, that looks like it was planted by maybe a human or grew naturally, but it looks more natural. And if you really, really, really want to get on the OCD wagon for detailing, you can start rotating them a little bit. You know, plants don't grow perfectly straight up and down. Every single one of them doesn't. I'll do that. I won't really do it with small plants, but trees and things is an easy one to rotate. Trees, say like this little gomer here, it, could have gotten blown over in a windstorm. There's probably a lot of wind in this valley. Maybe this one's really ready to fall over. Maybe that's too far, but it gives a little bit of added realism and layering. I just wanted to kind of give a little bit of a tutorial for that, how I build, and definitely you can build this way, but for the eye and to add that little bit of realism, randomize things. It's pretty simple. If you really want to, you can scale things, but let's build another kind of example scene. I really like these ground covers. These are my new obsession in this game. I think they look great. There's a lot of texture, and let me build a larger area to... Let's just keep that. And come in here and... See, this looks like it was a natural occurrence. Maybe we can grab a tree to... put in here. Something different. We'll keep that for a later day. Keep building. Yeah, maybe here this just looks pretty vanilla game. Maybe we'll push this back. Get rid of this. Keep those pipes hidden, like they're kind of built into the canyon wall. But the new game's got some really, really nice boulders. That's a really nice boulder, you know what I mean? Remember the Shrek video? What a great movie. I always think of that. I had a coworker I worked with that we'd always make fun of that. What scene is it with Lord Farquaad? And I know I'm going on a rant here, but why not rant? Have a little bit of fun, right? While we're building the Lord Farquaad. Don't tell him anything! We always used to have a little bit of fun saying that. I think that added a little bit of fun and a little bit of fun at work. You gotta have fun at work. It's not as sterile. Yeah, these boulders are... I like these a lot. Gives it a... We can turn this into a pretty cool looking cliff area, and not a lot of time, really. Maybe this is a... Tuck one up here to not see how it clips through the path there. We don't want that. We can if you want. Gives a little overgrown natural thing, but I think here the park would have built this path, so I don't think we want to do that. And maybe the path is built on top of these rocks. Take that. It looks like an old river valley that's been here for hundreds of thousands of years, maybe, and eroded over time. I think that's part of the fun of this game, is when I build, I try to not really go through a story, but build a story. It just kind of makes it maybe more real in the mind. You can maybe call me OCD or not, but I think it's something fun. Why not set a story and create a story? Again, all I'm doing is just clipping these rocks, randomly rotating them around. And this is kind of getting into the limits of that. I think we'll find another one. Keep going with these though, just to build this kind of sheer cliff face. Wow, and I can't believe I've been recording already for an hour and 10 minutes. I really hope this saves, otherwise I just spent an hour playing, but you know what? It's okay. I don't have anything but time tonight, so we just built this, and what I'm going to do for the ease of... I don't think I'm going to build all the way down here. That's kind of a lot. What I'm going to do is just group just like 3 of these together. And being these are randomized, you can go in here and build another layer, if you will, fairly quickly. Actually, I like using these groups, and for some reason, this I always have to kind of grab it and start over with Planet Coaster. I don't know if it's a glitch or what, but we'll rotate that one again. It'll kind of follow the. Maybe I've got something turned on I shouldn't, I guess, in the menu, but. Yeah, something like that. Maybe there's a couple of trees out here that are hanging on for dear life. A big windstorm will come and knock them off one day. There's nobody hiking down in the canyon down there. Yeah, it kind of sets the little bit of realism. Maybe this is the one that's kind of leaning out from the wind or things, or just grew there. Maybe that's kind of fun. Yeah, and then here this awkwardness, you can fill this in with a little bit of ground cover. A hide. Oops. Hide the hard edges, as they say. Your eye won't pick up on that as quickly, but if you see a hard edge somewhere, maybe there's a, let's see, one of these gomers here, a couple of these smaller spruce trees. Maybe this one's been here a while, so it gets scaled up quite a bit. I love the scale feature in this. What a game changer. But now I don't like that, because if you're here, you know, it blocks things. So why don't we, let's flip this around. Maybe that lives here, and that's the fun of this game, is to fine-tune things. I could spend hours doing this. Maybe we don't even have that one. Maybe it got cut down and turned into paper. Who knows? Yeah, I hope this first video has been helpful. I think I'll probably wrap it up here. It's been an hour and 13 minutes already. I just wanted to give a nice introduction. I probably won't even edit this. I think I want to keep it raw. I think that's part of the fun of this. Learning and showing others. I think it's something fun, so I think we'll stop there. And thank you all. Like, comment, subscribe. Feel free to ask questions. If anybody would like to talk architecture, photography, leave a comment. I love it, and I love to help others with that. Photography is an art form, and it's something that I think everybody should be intrigued with. It's a big world. Why not get out and photograph it? So, all right, y'all. Talk to you soon.